Hey everybody, in this video we're going to take a look at how we could take an item from Thingiverse, make some adjustments to it in Blender, and then prep it for 3D printing. Let's get into it. For this project, I'm wanting to adapt this tablet stand from Thingiverse and make the base wider and make it so it can hold a much thicker tablet case. I've downloaded these files from Thingiverse and now I'm going to bring them into Blender. Most of the files off of Thingiverse are in STL format. So to import them, we'll go to File, Import, STL. Going to the Files folder, I'll bring in all the files that came with this model. I do want to get rid of my default cube that's hiding in there. I'm not going to need my camera or a light. This model has 3 pieces, one of which is duplicated here. As you can see, the model already has 2 thicknesses of base. After measuring the tablet that I want it to hold, I am going to need to make this one even thicker. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this shorter one. The tablet case that I'm trying to fit in here requires 30 millimeters of space in between here and here. So I'm going to edit this model, grab this top half, and pull it up. To check my distance here, I'm going to use my measuring tool and measure from here to here. Now while my scale is off, I do see that I'm at 30. It may be 30,000, but that's just because I'm off by a factor of 1,000. But that's okay, we'll correct that in our slicer. From here I can actually show you what the model will look like when it's done. So when my tablet stand is built, it should actually look like this. However, I do want the base to be wider. So now I'm going to select all 3 parts, go into top view, and go into edit mode. I want the overall width of this to be 100 millimeters, and right now it's sitting at about 92. So I'll select half and pull it out further. And there we go. Now I could export these into 3 separate files, or I can lay them out how I want them to be printed in Blender and then export them as one file. I think that's what I'm going to do. I want to make sure they're all sitting exactly on the ground plane. At this point, I'll select all 3 models, go to File, Export, STL. I've found if I'm using Cura to do my slicing, which I would highly recommend if you're doing 3D printing, the only thing I need to change on the STL export is to choose selection only. This just makes sure if you have more objects in your scene than what you have selected, those don't get exported. If you've put any modifiers on your objects, you can leave those on and then just say apply modifiers. Then that way, your output will actually get your modifier stack objects rather than just the base models. So I'm going to go ahead and export this. Here we are in Ultimaker Cura. Cura is a slicing program for 3D printers. This takes your 3D model and separates it into separate layers that can be 3D printed. So here, I'll open my STL file. Sticking with my default settings, I'm going to hit Slice. Going into preview mode, I can make sure that everything looks good. And here we can see on the first layer that I lined all the objects up really well with the ground plane. There's no gaps. And then as it builds up, it goes through the different pieces. These parts here are known as supports. These will allow the printer to be able to print these overhangs. We can also see supports here under these pegs, and here in these holes. Overall, I'd say this looks like a really good print, so I'm going to go ahead and save this file. You'll see here that this saves out as a G-code file. G-code files are the instructions that 3D printers need to do their 3D print. So I'm going to save this. So printing for the stand took about 4 hours to complete. And when it was done, this is what it ended up looking like. It fit the tablet just as I had hoped. If you're unfamiliar with 3D printing, I hope this at least gave you an interesting view into the topic. In future videos, I hope to do some more in-depth coverage of 3D printing. I hope you found this video at least entertaining, and I hope it inspires you to make something awesome. If you're enjoying this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I'll see you next time.